Hello, welcome everyone. We'll give everyone just a few minutes to join and we'll get started. We've got people from all over. That's fantastic. Brazil, Canada, New Jersey. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Boost Organizational Performance via Project Management, 3 Steps, presented by Innovative V, the 2023 and 2024 Microsoft Partner of the Year for Project and Portfolio Management. My name is Stephanie Taylor, and I'm your moderator for the afternoon. Innovative V partners with our customers to modernize your entire project management ecosystem to drive meaningful change, enhance efficiency, and improve project outcomes, giving you the business agility you need to thrive and become a higher performing organization with happier people. Your speakers today are Mike Taylor and Brian Quick. Mike is the founder and CEO of Innovative V, and he lives on the Space Coast of Florida. He began his career writing PPM software for NASA and has extensive experience as a PPM practitioner, community contributor and writer, and process and app producer. Mike recently released his book, The AI Project Management and Work Revolution is Here. It's available on Amazon as a Kindle download, in paperback, and in audiobook format. Brian, who hails from the Jacksonville, Florida area, is a Microsoft alum of 7 years, having previously managed the Microsoft project business for the U.S. financial services and Midwest accounts. Brian has spent most of his career in IT project management leadership and has been with Innovative V for 5 years. Before we dive in this afternoon, I would like to cover a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded. A link to the recording along with the slide deck will be sent to you via email within the next few days. You are free to review the content at your convenience and share it with colleagues who could not attend today's live presentation. Please use the Q&A feature on the right side of this platform to ask questions. We will address as many questions as possible as time permits. If you happen to encounter any technical issues such as audio or video problems, please use the chat function to notify us. We'll do our best to assist you promptly. With those housekeeping items out of the way, let's get started. I'm pleased to hand the floor over to Mike Taylor and Brian Quick. Mike and Brian, the virtual stage is yours.
How about this?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Hey, Brian, too. All right. Sorry about the there. Let's do the sharing of the screen. And do you see that, Brian?
The screen is off stage. We need to put it on stage.
There we go.
Yep.
Oh. And there we go. All right. Awesome. And I think Brian is joining us from, he's been a customer on site out in Texas. So we got folks all over the place.
I'm live from Waco, Texas today, Mike, on the road.
Oh, awesome. Getting a little taste of fall out there, huh?
Yeah, a little bit chilly today.
Still warm here in Florida. All right, let's get started, everybody. What we hope to accomplish today, and for those of you who read the abstract, is we're going to explore a little bit about the connection of project management to organizational performance. We're going to delve into the common challenges to optimal project delivery. Then we're going to talk about the 3 steps, which are about leveraging the power of unified work management, implementing strategies for leveraging AI in project execution. We're going to talk about improving project outcomes to drive higher organizational performance. We're going to have Q&A and some collaboration, and then there's a book giveaway, so do stick around to the end, please. And we do want to make this interactive. There's going to be some poll questions that we're going to ask. And please, as Steph said, please put your questions in the Q&A along the way. You don't have to wait to the end. And we'll try to get some if we can during the presentation. If not, we'll do them at the end. We also have an Ask Me Anything scheduled for tomorrow. We decided this time to schedule that on the heels of this, because oftentimes we have so much interaction, the last 5 or 10 minutes for Q&A isn't enough. So if anyone wants to join us for that tomorrow, we have a QR code for registering for that as well. So with that, we'll dive right into it. We got a lot to cover here. As Steph mentioned, we've won the Partner of the Year a couple times. We've actually had 7 partner awards in the last 6 years. But what's really important about this is it's really our customer success that is at the heart of all these awards, right, Brian? I mean, it's really what our customers, and we have some really fantastic customers who are forward thinking and lean into the technology and that intersection of strategy and technology to really optimize their organizational performance. So that's really at the heart of everything that we do. And also, our close relationship with Microsoft allows us to bring a lot more back to the customers, in terms of what we understand is going on, what's on the horizon, what's in their product roadmaps and their strategy and things like that. So let's talk about higher performing organizations. What is a high performing organization? According to this article in 2020, it's one that executes well against strategic objectives, and they outperform their competition in most cases where there's it's a competitive type situation. And they tend to have happier people, which is an interesting outcome of the study that this guy did, Steve, back in 2020. So let's move forward with our first poll question. So this is almost a setup, but hopefully it's a layup. I think most people here, we know some of the folks here, we've met them at some of our project management events and everything else. But so if you would answer for us, successful project delivery improves organizational performance. You strongly agree? Doesn't really make a difference. Maybe there's other factors you think are more important, or you disagree or strongly disagree. So with that, hopefully we have the poll open. Give everybody a minute to respond.
I see some results are coming in now, Mike.
Okay, I don't see them on mine. So if you'd maybe give us the horse race here of how the results are looking there, Brian.
Okay, so it looks like most folks either agree or strongly agree, and it's sort of 50-50 between those two, but not a single person on the call does not agree.
Okay.
With statements. Well, I think we were expecting that, but I think that the half of the folks that are responding strongly agree.
Okay. Yeah, that's sort of what we expected. Like I said, this was a layup. It wasn't a really difficult question. So moving forward with that, so what does the research say? And there's a couple pieces of research that we want to quote here. One's from McKinsey, and what they have found, and this article is a couple years old, but it's still very relevant, that organizations with mature project management capabilities report they have a 30% improvement in their ability to innovate. And innovation is at the core of overall organizational performance. Doesn't matter what kind of organization you have. You could be a public sector agency, or you could be a competitive commercial organization, ongoing organization. But there's always innovation is always at the heart of improving your performance for your constituency and your customers. So that's an interesting quote. This one's maybe even a little more impactful. It's from the Project Management Institute, and it's in the Pulse of the Profession. It says that organizations that have highest project success rates are 2.5 times more often to have better alignment with strategic priorities and organizational outcomes. So that's pretty much a direct line correlation between your strategic project outcomes and your organizational performance. So I kind of wanted to establish that as a baseline for everything we're talking about here today. In the importance of project and project management and the delivery of those projects, and helping organizations be higher performant. So with that, we're going to lead right into the second question. What do you feel that team collaboration, what role do you think it has? Is it is an essential part of project success? Again, I strongly agree. Important but not essential. Maybe you feel that there's other elements of project management outside of collaboration that are more important. So we'll launch that second poll here. Again, we're going to hit you guys with a few polls right up front to keep you engaged. All right. So what do we see here? Strongly agree. Agree. Yep. Looks like 87%, 88% strongly agree. A couple in the agree. Again, like the last time, it looks like it's going to be both of those front two and this time it's more of a it's 82% on strongly agree.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, interesting one, Mike, because I think what we've seen a lot in my experience is that project management systems aren't really necessarily very collaborative.
Right. I mean, they focus on, you say this a lot, Brian. You say, it's almost like it's an afterthought with these task management or work management systems that they go in and they do really well at, entering, the task and getting, if it's a waterfall type thing, and getting the dependencies. If it's more of a work management or agile, then they work on the sprints, the epics and all this other stuff. But then it's almost like, well, and then there's this collaboration thing. Yeah. But 88% of our respondents here say that collaboration is actually an essential part of project success. So,
yeah, we're hearing it right from the source here. These folks are in the trenches every day with their project management and overwhelmingly agree that team collaboration is essential. Mm-hmm. The tools, the traditional project management tools that are out there, like PPM systems, I think their main purpose or what people use them for is really to collect data, to collect reportable data, so that they can represent what's going on with a project to others. And also, if those solutions are any good, they include a project scheduling aspect, which is being used on a day-to-day basis. And but the collaboration aspect has really not been emphasized. I mean, Microsoft tried to put project online in a collaborative platform with its building it on top of SharePoint.
Right.
But even that, by today's standards, and I think today's standards are measured by a completely different, like you got to get another yardstick and put it on top of the other one.
Oh, yeah.
Because today's standards on collaboration in the post-COVID world are a lot more, heavy than they were before. I think everybody just assumes that everything they do on a day-to-day basis should be super collaborative because they can't, they're not co-located anymore in a lot of respects.
Yeah. And even, and we're finding, the hybrid work is very much a thing. There's still a huge number of our customers that are completely remote. We were just at a customer event, I think last year, was one of the first on-sites we had done. And some of the customers hadn't seen each other in 2 or 3 years. And because they've gone to more of a remote kind of setup. But it's interesting, like you said, that the bar of expectation from collaboration in day-to-day work and what the tools will do to do that, it has really been raised. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but I want to go back to kind of the tools proliferation. And so we've got this slide we show in some of our, if you've attended any of our other webinars, this is one of our common slides because it's really important to kind of look at what's going on in the marketplace right now. What are most customers facing? And it's a proliferation of tools and methodologies and training and adoption and curriculum and certification and all this. And there's just a wide variety of things that have grown up over the years. And you see right there, we highlighted there in the lower corner that, you've got the new Microsoft Planner, which is a great tool. And it's really coming along. It's, it still has a little ways to go in a few areas. But it's just one of what, just in the Microsoft ecosystem, there's like 4 or 5 legacy tools outside of that they're working towards moving away from those, but it's going to take a while. A lot of customers may still have a project server or a project online deployment that's out there. Then you have all these third-party tools that have popped up over the last 10 plus years, Monday.com, Asana, Right, ClickUp, Smartsheet, and all those. Then, of course, you've got all your different methodologies, your waterfall, your agile, your Wagile, your Kanban, your project to product, and all those kind of things. And then, of course, your certifications. And we just did the project management show out in LA a couple of weeks ago. It was great. We got to talk to a lot of folks. Brian, you did a great presentation. I got to spend a little time on the stage talking to folks. PMI's been there for a long time, since the late 60s, being an institution. We also saw several other organizations that are out there. I think Georgia Tech was there. I think I may have saw Carnegie Mellon. There's a lot of other training organizations. So a lot of time and energy has gone into trying to solve this problem of project management, but we really feel an awful lot of the remaining challenges have to do with this proliferation, especially in the tool area of different tools. And what we see, and this is more of our experience with dealing with hundreds of customers over the years, is there's a kind of a counteracting effect. You do get, you go out and buy a purpose-built tool to do a certain thing. Maybe it's an Asana that traditionally marketers love Asana, so your marketing department may have gone out and bought Asana. So you've got this benefits of this new tool, but yet it's one of just a bunch of other tools that you have, and so you now are further segmenting your people and your data and your apps by adding new tools into the mix. So you have a counteracting effect there. And so, I don't have this slide in here, but there's project success rates haven't moved. I mean, they're about 35%. They've been there over many, many years. And that's what's as reported by organizations and individuals. So, there's an ongoing challenge here. And we really do think that this proliferation is a big part of the problem. And centering it back to collaboration in the platform, which is what we're about to get to, is really what we see and what our customers are finding is a huge area of success to accelerate their project management and their overall organizational success. So with that, some more research, and this is actually our research from doing several of these over time. This is back from, we had several hundred people on a webinar, and we did a couple of surveys, and we found that 92% of organizations use multiple project work management tools, and that's actually been verified by third-party IDC and Gartner and Standish Group and others. And I think the average number of work or project management tools is what, Brian, about 5.7 or something like that?
Right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. So almost everybody has multiple things, and that was a common refrain when we do these events, like in person. It was great talking to a lot of folks. Almost everybody came up and said we got a bunch of different things we're using. Another really common problem, and it's partially from the proliferation of tools, is project managers spend way too much time finding and aggregating data. The chasing data to try to get relevant information in front of them, their teams, their decision makers, their stakeholders is very difficult. It's a timeless problem in project management, and it hasn't gotten better even with the proliferation of all the new technology. In fact, it may have gotten worse. We talk about the fact that there's a gap between the work and the systems that govern it. So, and this starts to get important when you start talking about the AI discussion. Humans are not great at doing data entry and mundane things, and project management in of itself is you're creating systems that are a representation of the work. And the task you're entering. I enter a task for Brian to go develop a new app. That's not doing the work. It's just a task that represents it, right? And now it has to be statused and it has to be maintained. So there is a gap there, and we'll talk more about how you can overcome that challenge with the modern platform. So there is an opportunity, and this is a glimpse into that, for AI and automation to help create higher value outcomes while humans are freed from the mundane task of things like data entry, data maintenance, data chasing, all that kind of stuff. And you like to talk about this you've been a project manager for many years and been involved in the industry for a long time. And you like to talk about how people really, when you start doing project management, you're earlier and you've got these aspirations of, delivering successful projects and everything. Then you get caught up in all this data management and everything else. And what you really want to do is do the leadership stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we get paid to do. That's why we get hired as project managers and project management leaders. And I think we often get bogged down by the manual work, the manual updating activities, the day-to-day statusing, and you're really coordinating people, and you're basically doing data entry or building a PowerPoint presentation or creating a manual email a summary of what's happened. So that people can understand and then stay off your back.
Right.
But if we can automate as much of that as possible and try to drive that to zero, I think the value of the project manager becomes a lot clearer. I think it's about leadership and negotiation and risk management and making sure folks are staying on the critical path items, being able to take the time to identify those, understand who your key players are, make sure that key sponsors are kept informed, and really, move obstacles away from your team in order to help them, be higher performing. The more we can automate a lot of that busy work, the more time we as PMs can do what we actually enjoy doing and what we're hired to do in the first place.
Yep, absolutely. Well said. So this is another poll question, and we're starting to move into the conversation around AI. Does your organization use AI for project management? So we've segmented this question into multiple pieces, obviously. The first is yes, it's become integral to all things we do, project management. 2, yes, but it's really more in certain project management apps, like in Planner, Asana, maybe, or whatever. There's just about all the project management apps have some
kind of AI widget in there.
some kind of AI built into it, right? Some kind of Gen AIs in everywhere you look. The third is yes, but only outside of the PM tools. So it's an important distinction. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And we got a couple of very quick demo clips we'll go through. But that would be things like Copilot if you're using it, like Microsoft Copilot, GPT. There's a myriad of other third-party AI tools for doing all kinds of stuff. Fourth is no, but you're investigating. We have a lot of customers who are in that realm right now. And then you just might not be sure. You're not sure what IT or whatever's doing. So this is interesting. So now we're getting the results popping in. Some yes, no, but investigating is definitely leading the race coming down the stretch. Not sure. There's a little bit of not sure. Yes, but in certain project management apps, yes, but outside of the PM tools. I kind of expected to see some more of the outside the PM tools because that's the easy place to go, right, for folks.
Like an organization is deploying Copilot for everybody, so you start using it for transcriptions of meetings and things like that.
Or just using GPT. You go out there and an awful lot of people, and I've got another slide. We'll talk about that in a second. So this is really interesting. So a little bit, about 4% in certain apps, about 37% in outside of the PM tools, no, but investigating 50%, and about 8% not sure. No, nobody says it's integral, which I am not surprised. We're not seeing that among our customer sets yet either. It just hasn't gotten to that point yet. So good.
What would be interesting is, let's take this poll throughout a period of time. Like let's on future webinars, let's take this same poll like a few months from now, 6 months, a year from now, and see how this changes. Because I think you're going to see some rapid change to movement up to the first two as time goes on. And there are opportunities to do that today. More common, it would be, I'm trying to write this email. I want to change the tone of it a little bit to make it more professional. So I'm going to use something like a Copilot to do that, or a GPT.
Right. Okay, so I'm actually going to jump into a little bit of AI discussion. This is from an article. This is actually about 2 months old from Microsoft. And Microsoft they just commissioned the article to be worked by a third party. But about 75% of people are saying they're already using some form of AI. About 46, about 6 months. That'd be more like 8 months ago. So this is not far off what we were seeing with the poll we just ran, right? But interestingly enough, it says, usage has nearly doubled in the past 6 months and now 8 months. That's like you said, I think it's getting, obviously a lot of attention, a lot of buzz in the marketplace. In fact, I think the buzz is starting to wear off and people are really starting to say, okay, what can I really do with this stuff, right? So there's a lot of interest in it. But there's also a lot, what we're seeing in our customers is there's still some apprehension, in an organization that has apprehension means that IT or other folks are maybe limiting usage right now. We have some customers who are saying their IT won't let them use it until they get a good handle on, what the data sources and things like that. So from that perspective, I would encourage anyone who's interested to do a little bit of your own research around responsible AI. Microsoft, because we're a Microsoft partner, that's what we mostly refer to, but they do have a real good guideline about responsible AI and governance, and they have very strong policies. They even have legal support around what they're doing as far as data protection and things like that. They're extremely conscious about keeping data in the right place. So for those who don't know, things like ChatGPT, if you read it carefully when you go in there, it will say that your information you enter, your questions, your interaction with it can actually be used for future training of models, which means that data can go outside of that. Microsoft and other cloud suppliers are starting to get very careful around making sure that they keep that firewall up. So that's what a responsible AI policy is about. So just a quick delve into that is it's really important as organizations start to really try to figure out how to use it. But we are seeing a lot of people are already kind of taking it on their own. But as organizations embrace it, it'll be important to understand kind of those responsible AI principles and guidelines. Interestingly enough, this report also found that 5% of Teams users are reporting saving 8 hours, the top 5%, 8 hours a week summarizing meetings in Copilot. And I think this is a really, the reason I brought this up from a project management perspective, how much time do we spend taking notes as project managers and then writing them back down, synthesizing them, putting them into status reports or action emails or whatever has to happen. You got to follow up with somebody or whatever. So I think this is a very germane stat to project management and meetings, and it goes back to this whole thing around collaboration, right? So it's very important to understand where you can start to chip away. We talk about taking away those mundane tasks from humans. So I think this is a good one to start with. So I actually have a quick demo here that we had done ourselves. This one doesn't have audio. The next one should. This is one that we just did internally to kind of show what you can do with a Teams, for those who haven't seen Microsoft Teams Copilot. Now, Copilots in Microsoft space have various incarnations, if you will. So there's one for Teams, there's one for Excel, there's one for Word and for PowerPoint, there's one for Planner, which I'll show a little thing here in a second about that. But the one for Teams will allow you to look at your Teams minutes or your Teams meetings and look at the minutes of it and apply AI to it to do things like, well, I'll show you. It's just a real quick video here. So what we do here is it's down here in the lower right corner. We just open the Copilot window, and for those who haven't seen it, and you say, what was the purpose of this meeting? And then, it reasons over it and it says, here's the purpose and here's some footnotes around kind of what happened. And then we ask about, were there any action items? So that's might be important for a project manager to know, right? So we enter that in and it reasons over it and it returns, what were the action items associated with this meeting? So, and then we say, and it actually says who has the action items, and again, it has references. And then we ask the same kind of thing about issues. And the phrasing's a little different, but for those who haven't done much in terms of prompt engineering, that becomes the real magic in working with any of these AI tools, especially the Gen AI tools. So you can see that it was able to do some stuff for you pretty quickly. Again, back to that productivity saving, eliminating the human time frame from doing things. Now you could take this and you could take those and copy and paste them into a meeting minute or a status report and move right forward from there, right? So it's really cool. The next one, and I hope the audio, you'll have to tell me if this is working when we go here. I'm going to play this. This is a little less than a 2-minute Copilot from Microsoft Planner. This is from the Microsoft team. I didn't figure that Brian and I could do any better than those guys. So just took their video and cut a little short video in there. So let's see if the audio will play here.
Let's say we're getting ready to initiate a product launch.
That doesn't look like it's
I want to track
playing,
this work in the new
So what
planner.
they're doing here, you can actually see
Start
and
by
it's got
creating a plan and naming it product launch.
The closed
Now,
caption turned on
let's
there.
start
They're
the planning
basically saying,
process.
create me a new
This
project.
can sometimes be
And,
tedious, but luckily
they
Copilot
open
helps
up
speed it up.
Copilot, and then they prompt.
I can
and
simply
say,
ask Copilot
"Oh,
to
you can hear
plan
it?
for
Oh,
a product
I can't.
launch.
I'm sorry.
Copilot immediately starts generating the plan, analyzing our goals, and breaking down the work to accomplish them. The Copilot-generated plan is a great start, and I can keep it now if I wanted. I notice that retrospective work is missing from the plan. I'll ask Copilot to include work to validate successful launch. This looks great. I can easily keep the generated tasks, adding them directly to the plan. Planning this launch is off to a great start.
That's that.
Okay. I think
Let's say we're getting ready to
initiate. So now we talk a little bit about, and we're having to cover a lot of territory in a short period of time, but a new approach to modernization, a new approach to project management, because we've talked about what some of the challenges are, and we've talked about, that collaboration is an essential part of it. So the way we've started thinking about it, and we see a lot of other partners and customers thinking about it, is really start with collaboration at the center. So create a unified hub of independent of the project and task management tools. And Teams is a great place to start. If you're a Microsoft customer already, you can see some of the stats out there. And I think this is actually almost a year old. I think there's over 1 million organizations now. I think it's doubled since we pulled this stat out. And I think there's even more than 400 or 500 million users that are using it. So if you're a Microsoft shop, this is a great place to start, is to look at Teams. And it's not just that that's where work is already happening, which is, Brian, you say that all the time. Teams is where work's already happening. We're doing all this stuff in teams. We're collaborating. We're starting artifacts. We're doing meetings and everything else. But it's also part of the modern platform. And for those who don't know, Microsoft re-architected the entire kind of automation platform from the ground up about 6 or 7 years ago. And the Power Platform and AI and everything that's built into it, it's all built around this concept of having a what they call a generational development platform. They said this is going to be the platform to work on in the Microsoft space for the next 30 years or plus. And so it really is, any of these first party apps that you have in there, like Teams and some of the others, work directly with, not to get too technical, but the Dataverse and the Power Platform, Power Automate, Power BI, all these components that are in there. And of course, the AI components are now being tied in there as well. So it's really important to understand that the platform itself is created all these new work management opportunities, which of course can be applied to project management. And that's what we talk about here is, unifying the teams, utilizing to unify and bring everything into the flow of work, which is where things are already happening. And then how does that result in high performing results if you take this approach? Well, people can still use the endpoint tools they want to use and the methods. Everyone's literally on the same page. So you're really starting with the collaboration first approach rather than the tool first and then adding collaboration in. And everybody agreed that collaboration is super important. So
remember, we got you to agree to that at the beginning.
That's right. we knew where we were going with this. It creates better data, and because now you've got all the collaboration data in one place. Now you're creating better data, and that improves decision making and outcomes. It leverages the modern automation and AI platform while you're evolving to the future, so you don't have to do it all at one time. Which leads to the last point, which is it's minimally disruptive. If you've got folks already using Teams and already using the platform, then by bringing people in there, you're not adding yet another tool that's like a rip and replace. Take this one out, do something else. We all know how hard adoption and change management is. It does it in a minimally disruptive way.
Right.
So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about, we did develop a product. You can do a modernization approach, and we have some customers doing it without using the product, but this product helps accelerate that journey. And so what we did is we built it on Teams, and it's built to do governance, management, planning, reporting, AI, automation. It's an extension of the Power Platform and the AI platform that Microsoft has. It's an extension of Microsoft Teams. But when you use it, and Brian will show you here in a second, you're just in Teams. It's not like it has its own separate interface. It just kind of works the way people already are working. And you can see at the bottom there that we have multiple tools that we've already made available to work with it. All the Microsoft tools, the project management tools, online project for the web, which is now evolved into the new planner as well. Those are fully automated, fully work with it. We've got some other things like Monday.com Smart Sheets, actually a couple others that can work with it. And it works through the Teams automation. And then we've got some things that are in dev. We're actually working on a proof of concept with a customer right now to integrate Viva goals, so you can do the strategic alignment. You can align your overall organizational goals to what you're actually going to work on, those initiatives, those projects, and those projects can be in different tools, right? So that's actually a really kind of unique thing to do. You don't just go align it to one tool. You can align it, or you do align it to one tool, but you're not just pigeonholed into only using that tool. You can use multiple tools for different initiatives. You can, again, work the way you want to work. And then we have on our roadmap, we're obviously going to encompass some of the other work management tools that are more in the agile space. So Microsoft Azure DevOps and Jira. We've got some things in work to bring that into the fold as well. And we have some customers, many customers. This is just a sample of some who are already using it. But the whole key here is it's really one user experience, one data model, one dashboard for all projects and work in your enterprise. So we talk about those 5.7 tools that you're using. It kind of brings everything together in a minimally disruptive way that starts that modernization journey today. And I won't read through all this. This just kind of sums up a lot of the things that you can do and how the benefits of using a Teams for PM type product. I'm going to get through this pretty quickly so I can get Brian to the demo, and then we have a little bit of time for Q&A. So I think with that, Brian, I'll let you take
Sure.
Show us a quick demo of Teams for PM.
Let's do it.
All right. I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Am I sharing, Mike?
Not yet. Oh, hold, here it comes. There we go.
Okay, so you're in Microsoft Teams, and a lot of folks are, like we said, are already trying to use Microsoft Teams for project management use cases. But what we've done is, since we know a little bit about project management and what you guys are trying to accomplish out there, we've created a pre-configuration of Teams and a product called Teams for PM that we can layer on top of your Teams deployment and then customize it from there. It uses all the tools in your environment that you already have, like Power Automate, Power BI, Power Apps, and Planner and Project, and other tools that Mike said you could pull in. But it also just lights it up as a kind of a more out-of-the-box configuration inside of Teams. And it might be the right tool that you need to kickstart your journey toward better collaborative project management. And what I have here is, in Teams, I have the ability to have channels based on projects. And then some of you might be already doing something similar where you have a workspace for a project. But here I can pull in other tools like managing the project in Microsoft Planner, for example, right here in a tab, which is automatically deployed based on a template that I have for my projects through Teams for PM. And then I have the ability to have a report written in Power BI that's pre-created so that I have no more manual status reporting. Everybody knows exactly where to go to get to this report. And it's taking the data out of the schedule, the task information, and the status data, as well as some other data that the project manager provides to automatically create this and keep it up to date all the time. Project manager can come right in here and start entering data about the project that others want to know about, instead of trying to go to another system and do that or enter it in aggregate. It can be just in line with the work here, right here in the flow of everything that's going on in Teams. You can see that they can put their health indicators here. They can enter any other information about the project. And this is one of the areas that's highly customizable. One of the other areas that we have here is a team builder, so we can align people with different phases of the project and what % of their time they're going to be working on those phases. There's also the ability to capture risk right here in Teams and be able to report on that centrally as an enterprise, which is amazing because you don't have to have a spreadsheet somewhere or go to another system and log it. But regardless of if you're using Planner to do your project management, scheduling, or if you want to use another tool, Teams for PM facilitates different kinds of tools to actually do the project itself. For example, Application Lifecycle Management Phase 2 is a project that's being managed in Microsoft Project Online. And that project schedule is right here. And you can click on it and get to it right from this tab. You have the same status report, the same ability to enter your metadata and all of your information about what's going on with the project. It's just that maybe the management style is a little bit different, or maybe you have a legacy Project Online environment and you want to pull it into Teams and start using it this way. It's perfect for that. And then you have the ability also to have a dashboard across all projects, regardless of where they're being managed or how they're being managed. As long as we have some consistent data, we can represent that in a dashboard just like this, built in Power BI. And we get you started along the road here, but then this is also an area that people tailor to their needs, put their logo on there, different kinds of reports, different ways that you guys have of reporting on data. It's very flexible to manage all that. As a matter of fact, we can modify the Teams for PM app to collect pretty much any data you want throughout the process, and any workflow that you want to have through the process as well, because we're using Microsoft's enterprise-grade Power Automate and Power Apps products that are already in your enterprise Microsoft environment for your company. So they're already kind of pre-vetted. And if you're just getting into that area, you can rely on Innovative E to be able to build those out for you and customize them and support them on an ongoing basis. So Teams for PM is kind of an accelerator, if you will, to getting to the next level on your project team collaboration, so that your projects will look more like Teams. Your project experiences will look more like Teams, and folks will be able to come in here and regularly just collaborate with one another by using the chat features that are available on the tasks and on the projects themselves. and using the posts and just lighting up a meeting right from there. So that is the short version of the demo of Teams for PM, Mike.
Yeah, that's really good. Just a couple things you hit on there that I think were really important is this interface that you're showing right there. Everything is the same regardless of the execution tool. So if you're using Planner, it looks the same. If you're using Project Online, it looks the same. The only difference is when you hit, like in this case, the project tab, it's going to Planner. It could easily go to a Project Online schedule you have. And so we have a lot of customers, right, Brian, that are doing exactly that. They have legacy Project Online implementations. They're using it for that. And then they're finding that, for some of their maybe lower complexity, lower high end needs for project management, they're just using Planner.
Right.
And but they're using it all in the same environment. So you could even be the same project manager who has one project he's managing it in Planner and one in Project Online or whatever, right? So the idea also is that this gives a foundation for long-term modernization. So you're stepping into modernization because you're on the platform now. And that was the other point I was going to say that you hit on, which is really great, is it's very extensible. Basically, Teams for PM allows you to inherit all the extensibility, all the customization capabilities of the platform itself. And just about any of our customers of any size and complexity have done a fair amount of their own customizations or had partners help them do it around their project management processes. So this gives you a universal platform that helps, right now you may or may not have embraced Power Automate and some of those capabilities, but in the future, most customers are going to have that kind of capability because it is, again, it's the platform of the future. So doing those kind of changes and things will be much easier to help with your endpoint. There's always endpoint process stuff that you want to do, right? Maybe it's intake. You want to customize your intake. Maybe, like you said, the reporting. Many of our customers, we provide a whole bunch of reports out of the box. Many go out and build their own, and they just put them right there in the project report section. And so it's it's very extensible and very easy to use for a variety of reasons or a variety of purposes, I guess.
Right, Mike. And also, it leverages the investments that you've already made in the Microsoft.
Exactly.
And it's just extending that further. So your data is saved in your environment in a secure way. You already trust Microsoft with your data, so you're not deviating from that. And by centralizing all of your data right here in your environment, your Microsoft environment, we're really prepping you for AI because we're capturing all that data in one place, and you can put secure private AI solutions, point them toward that data. And we're working on some already today that we're going to be releasing as part of the core product. But the sky's the limit in terms of what you need out of that data and what you can learn from it.
Right. And like you said, just to reiterate that point, it's, you're taking your project management data set and most of it you're pulling into a central area. There may be a little outlier stuff that's going on task management in particular sets, but most of the stuff that's happening from collaboration platform is all happening now in a centralized area. So now you can apply that automation and AI to it. It's super powerful stuff.
Absolutely. I'll stop sharing now.
Okay, I'll go back to getting back to the screen. Let's see here. Let's see when the stage pops back up. There it is. Thanks for the demonstration. That was awesome. And for anyone who wants to see a lot more, we're always happy to set up a demo and show you more about it. So now I want to talk about a little bit more about the journey. So it doesn't just happen by itself, right? And it's probably not going to be just buying a product and doing it, but and although it will help you, really accelerate that journey. But what does it look like to get on a modernization journey? And so this is kind of a model that we have built over years with our customers, and it's a standard kind of approach: plan, build, grow, optimize, right? So really in the beginning, if you're in a state where you've got multiple tools, you may have Project Online, you may have other things, and you want to get started on this modernization journey, what are the key components? Well, of course, we're going to say our estimation, use Teams and the Power Platform as the building blocks to bring the people and apps to get together. This is a best practice if you're already a Microsoft shop that's going to start to propel you into the future of project and work management. Really embrace an evolutionary approach, minimally disruptive. Like Brian was saying, you can get started today, even using the investments you've already made in a lot of these things. And you can enhance the existing apps, and you can start leveraging immediately the capabilities of the modern platform and AI without doing a rip and replace and a holistic change. Follow an incremental strategy. So again, it's not about just the big bang. It's, start to tackle smaller operational challenges in many cases. It's maybe not as exciting on the surface to say we're going to help you not have to enter your risk every time or do your meeting notes. But you know what? It gets pretty exciting when it saves you 8 hours a week or whatever that stat was, right? So you start to go, hey, these little wins can start to add up to bigger wins over time because you start taking away. And next thing you know, like Brian was saying, you're actually doing the fun part of project management, the leadership components of it. You're not chasing data. You're not in Excel all day. You're not doing those things. You're finding those, and at the same time, you're looking at it. Your tool owners and your IT folks are looking at it going, wow, we have a much more robust, more normalized data set to work with now to start to do a lot more of those super fancy things that you hear about, predictive analysis, analytics, maybe having AI actually help with some recommendations and things, but you can't do that till you build the data sets. So tackling these small operational pieces up front helps you get to that point, and it just in the course of doing it. And then, really you should be intentional about it. What is the data that you really want to do over time? We have several folks in our organization who work for very large organizations, FinServ and things like that, and they talk a lot about the long-term data strategy. Well, this is a long-term data strategy for project management. So think about what it is you're trying to attain in the future. What data is important to you? Do you have regulatory or compliance things that you need to make sure that you're answering questions in the future? So think about that as you embark on this journey to modernize your project and work management. And to that extent, we built a little graph here that talks about, you've got all these different value points, and it can be a limitless number of value points that customers would be chasing. But these are some common things we see. And then what does that look like? You're going to have some level of investment, but the return is going to be really substantial if you do it right. And a big part of that is this optimization, this platform optimization is the first big step of this. Leaning into this is the first step of this journey in the way that we've been doing it with our customers and many customers. So we see this as the, really the path forward for customers who really want to start utilizing the power of the platform today, start getting a lot more value out of it, and build for the future. So with that, I think that's just about the last one. I think we're going to move into, here's the book code. It's available for the rest of the day till midnight Pacific time on Kindle for anybody who wants it. So scan the QR code. I'll come back to this slide in a second because I got a couple others to go through. There's a get in touch with us, and there's I wanted to get to this one. So scan this one if you guys are interested, or look it up. We're going to do an Ask Me Anything tomorrow as a follow-up. So we're down to about 10 minutes for Q&A today. But if you're interested in an hour-long session with us, you can register for that and attend it. So get that scan, and I'll let it sit right there for a second. But while we're there, and I'll go back to the book QR right now. But do we have any questions? I didn't see, Brian, if we have any questions in the...
Yes, there was a question from Frank about when Azure DevOps is going to be able to be pulled in.
That's probably going to be, right now we're looking at H1 of 25, so the first half of 25. We actually did have it in full transparency. We had it in our roadmap for the second half of 24, but we had a couple things that kind of jumped ahead of it. Some customers had some needs for things like that Viva thing that we were talking about. Microsoft was very interested in that. We also became transactable in the marketplace, and for anyone who wants to know more about that, if you can transact through the Microsoft Marketplace, we had to do a lot of development and certification to get through that. So the app is transactable. So we had some things that came in front of it. ADO is a super interesting thing for us, as is Jira, because agile management is a huge piece of work management. So you'll hear us say all the time, project and work management, because there's that big breadth of work that we want to be able to help people be better at. So you can look forward to ADO first half of next year.
Great. Thanks, Mike. And if there's one takeaway I would add for any folks that are online today that are using Microsoft software in order to manage their projects, whether it be project on the desktop, project online, project server, or just trying to get things done in teams, you have the right platform already in order to be able to be successful in a lot of the ways we talked about today. It's just about getting a recipe to do that. So you don't need to go out and go shopping for a new PPM system or a new task management system. You already have the right platform. Let's talk about how you can leverage that better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a key component of it. It's the goes back to the very beginning of the presentation, right? When we ask is how important is collaboration, and by putting collaboration first, you kind of turn the whole model on its head a little bit, and make it easier to do a lot of the things that people have been chasing for a long time. And with the platform there, it's a super exciting time to be in project management. There's been problems that, you and I and other folks we work with, Brian, have been chasing for a long time for ourselves and for our customers, that you just really couldn't solve the problems easily without a whole lot of customization, without a whole lot of working in very expensive and very time-consuming things to go work around these problems. And now they're becoming more ubiquitous and easier to solve in many ways. So it's a very exciting time to see. I think we're going to collectively be able to move the needle towards higher success rates for projects and then organizational performance. I think we're going to see that. I saw another stat that said that, and I didn't put that in here, but I think it was an HBR article that said that they're seeing a shift in the value creation for organizations away from operational. There's been in many organizations for many years, there's been a big focus. You see things like Six Sigma and things that are focused on operational improvements, driving value for organizations. This article in HBR was saying that they believe and they're seeing a move towards projects and project delivery being the real value creation component for organizations in the next several years. I think they said that there's going to be also a growth in project management jobs up to 88 million by 2027. So it's like a 30% growth or something like that. So while all this AI and everything's out there and some people are worried it's going to take jobs, I think it's actually going to create a lot of opportunity for people. So it's pretty exciting from that perspective.
Right. I mean, by automating a lot of the manual work, I think what remains is the new stuff, the new things that we need to create, what we need to make, what we need to take to market. What buildings do we need to build? How do we expand? And those are projects.
Yep. All the above.
You guys are in a good place, and we'd love to help you take it to the next level. So thanks for joining us today at the webinar.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody. And again, I'll go to AMA if anybody wants to join us tomorrow at 2:00. There's the QR
this
code.
Is a new format we're trying. Maybe we kind of take the rush out of a lot of the questions maybe you guys have, get a chance to take a deeper dive in some answers. Because it always seems kind of like rushed at the end of a webinar, especially when my demos go long, right, Mike?
Actually, you did great today. It was good. Right about 5 minutes. So we're right on time.
All right, folks, have a wonderful rest of your day or evening or morning or wherever you are around the world. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.